another green marble crochet tutorial. For this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to make exactly this Christmas stocking. I'm sort of in the process of finishing it up right now. Yeah, that's what we're doing, just this. So it's a bunch of granny squares put together. There's a couple of different styles. I think I'm going to be it's Sunday today, so I'm going to be posting this tutorial this evening for Granny Square Sunday, as well as the Christmas stocking. So last minute Christmas stocking for this year. That's what we're doing. Yeah, there's not a lot that we can say about it. It's pretty basic. Like, it's quite a basic little square. With a few minor sort of modifications from the usual square that I make, so it's sort of slightly different. But yeah, a bit of fun. I feel like I've come up with something new, which is always really good. I love that. Yes, so that's what we're doing. There's really not a lot that I need to say. We can probably just get straight into doing it. As I always say, contact me if you need more help. I'm really happy to give you as much help as I can. There's that. So, if you haven't subscribed, but if you'd like to subscribe to join me for some more tutorials, I would love to have you join me. A big thank you to my patrons. Thank you for your support. Thank you to my subscribers. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching my videos. If you need to, yeah, like I said, if you need to get in contact with me very quickly for anything, look for me on Instagram. I'm the_green_marble, and you can find me there very quickly for anything that you need help with. Follow me, I'll follow you back. We can do it together. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. All right, that's it. I've been quite absent for a little bit. Just there's been some other things going on, and but I'm looking forward to getting back into it and doing more crochet. So yes. All right, let's just get straight into making this. All right, now then, to begin, we're going to have a quick look at the tiny details on the label of the yarn that we're using, or the yarns. So these ones are the same. I'm using a white as well, so we're using red and green, but I'm also using a white. I don't have the label for this white, but I'm pretty sure it's exactly the same as these ones. Either way, it's exactly the same sort of ply and type, so it's the same thing. Alright, not to worry. Alright, which one are we going to look at this one. Alright, so here we are. If you need more time to look at anything, just pause the video as well. I also just want to say quickly that if at any point during the tutorial you feel like I'm going too fast, there's a feature on YouTube where you can slow down the speed of the video. So I just suggest doing that so you can keep up at your own pace. Alright, so here are the tiny relevant details. So what have we got? We've got, it's saying I should use a 3 or a 3.5 millimeter hook, which is good because I'm using my 3.5. Nope, that's not it. Where's my 3.5? There it is. My 3.5. Yes. Alright, so we're doing that. Alright, let's begin. Alright, so for this tutorial, I'm going to make a green star inside a red square, just because it'll show up better and be easier to see what I'm doing. So what we're going to do first is we're going to find the end of our yarn. Finding the end of our yarn, starting with our green, or starting with the colour that you're going to be using for your star in the centre. And what you're going to do is, you're going to start by making a slip knot. So let's focus better. We're going to start by making a slip knot. So to do that, we take the end of our yarn between our thumb and our index finger of our right hand, like this. Then with the index finger and the middle finger of your left hand, you're going to wind the working end around like this. Grab on like that to the working end, pull through the loop. But you don't actually have to make the tail very long because you can sort of crochet that in as you go along. So I'm just going to make that tail very short. Now what we're going to do is we're going to grab the hook and we're going to adjust it through that slip knot, grab the working end just there and pull tight. Alright, so there we go. Now we're adjusted to our hook. So what we're going to do to begin with is we're going to chain 4. So for a chain stitch, it is yarn over, pull through, so that's 1 chain. Then yarn over, pull through, that's 2 chains. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. So there's 4 chains. Now what we're going to do is we're going to slip stitch into the first stitch right back at the beginning of that chain. So just there, that one just there, you're going to go into the top part of that, yarn over, pull through, then pull that through your last chain, pull it tight to secure. So now what you've got is a little chain circle. And what we're going to do from here is we're going to chain up 2, so 1, 2, and we're going to be putting double crochets into the center of that chain circle. So if you pull it apart, you can sort of see where the center is. Just there, there's that center. I'm not sure if you can see that. It's just in there somewhere. So we're going to be putting, because I'm counting this chain of 2 as a stitch. So that's going to be stitch number 1. Then we're going to put 11 double crochets into the center of the chain circle, and it's going to represent 12, basically 12 double crochets. So for a double crochet, it is yarn over, then like I said, looking for that center of the chain circle, which is just there. You're going to go into there, yarn over, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and that's a double crochet. So that's 1, but we're going to count that as 2 because remember the chain is a stitch. So we've got 2 stitches, then you've got another double crochet is going to be 3, 4. So yeah, 11 double crochets into that center, and I'll meet you once you've done the 11th and we'll talk about what we're going to do next. Okay, see you soon. Alright, now here I am at the end of the round and I've got my 11 double crochets into the center of the chain circle. So what we're going to do now is we're going to find the stitch at the top of that chain of 2 at the beginning. So there's that chain 2 just there. And that stitch just at the top, we're going to go into that, we're going to yarn over, pull through a loop, and then pull that loop through our last stitch to close the round. So that's round 1. Now moving on to round 2, what we're going to do is we're going to chain up 2, so 1, 2, and we're going to turn. So what we're going to be doing for round 2 is, including this chain of 2 that we've done, we're going to be increasing the stitch count to 24. So for that, we're going to be putting 2 stitches into every stitch around. But for this round, we're also starting the beginnings of the outside of the star, so the square. And so I'll show you what I mean by that. What we're going to do first is, you see just there beneath that chain of 2, there's a stitch just there. That's going to be the first stitch that you're going into. So counting this chain of 2 as stitch number 1. Stitch number 2 is going to be yarn over, then going into that stitch just there. Let's try and focus a bit better. That's really bad. Come on. Alright, that's better. Now going into that stitch just there beneath that chain of 2, just in there. Might be a little bit tight, but it's going to be okay. You're going to yarn, so you've yarned over, we're doing double crochets. So you've yarned over, you've gone into the stitch, you're going to pull up a loop, and now you're going to yarn over, pull through 2, but leave those 2 loops, the last part of the double crochet, on the hook, because what you're going to do now is you're going to find the next color that you're using. So for me it's the red for the square. You're going to find your next color, you're going to make a little slip knot. You make a little slip knot just like this. You're going to pick up your hook, you're going to adjust that slip knot to the hook, just like this. Pull that tight and pull it through those 2 remaining loops of the double crochet. So you're finishing the double crochet with that red slip knot. Now what you're going to do for stitch number, so that was stitch number 2. So for stitch number 3, you're dropping the red again. I'm going to try and focus a bit better. Right, so you've dropped the red, you're going to pick up the green, and you once again are going to yarn over with the green, and into the next stitch you're going to go in, yarn over, pull up a loop, then you're going to drop that green again, pick up the red, the working end of the red, yarn over, pull through 2 green loops, yarn over, pull through 2 red. So that's stitch number 3. Now for stitch number 4, you're going to sort of hold the green to the side just like that. You're going to yarn over, and because we're doing 2 stitches into every stitch, you're going to put your yarn over, put that stitch into that one you've just gone into. So you're going to go in, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, but leave those 2 red loops on the hook. You're going to drop the red, pick up the green, yarn over, finish the stitch with a green loop. So that's your repetition. We're going to do the next one together, and then after the next one you'll know how to do it to the end of the round. So for the next stitch along, you're going to yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So that's one complete green stitch. Then into that same stitch, you're going to yarn over with a green, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, but leave those 2 green loops on the hook. You're going to drop the green, pick up the red, yarn over, finish the stitch with a red loop. So now you're going to drop the red again, yarn over with the green, go into the next stitch for stitch number 3 of this repetition, yarn over, pull up a loop, but leave those 2 loops because now you're picking up the red again. You're going to drop the green, pick up the red, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So now holding that green to the side just like that, yarn over with the red, go into that same stitch for stitch number 4, go in, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, but leave those 2 red and drop that red strand, pick up the green, yarn over, finish the stitch with a green loop. So those are your repetitions of 4. You've got 1 complete green, then half of a, well, no, the beginnings of a green, then you finish that green with a red loop. You know what I mean. Just follow the process for that last repetition of 4 that we did to the end of the round. So by the end, there'll be 6 repetitions of that, and you will end up with a stitch count of 24. Yeah, but just go back and watch that again if you need to, really let it sink in. All right, so I'll see you at the end of the round, and we'll talk about what we're going to do next. Okay, see you soon. Alright, now here I am at the end of the round. So as you can see, I've got 6 of these beginnings of this square. So what we're going to do now is, we finished up our last stitch with that green loop. So we're going to look for that chain of 2 at the beginning just there. And into the stitch above that chain, so that green stitch just there, you're going to go in. Wait, what have I done? No, nothing wrong. So you're going to go into that stitch at the top of the chain 2 at the beginning just there. You're going to yarn over and pull through a green loop. But because what we're going to be doing is chaining up and turning, and we're going to be sort of on the side of this red bit, so what we're going to do is we're going to drop the green at this point, we're going to pick up the red, and we're going to chain 2 with the red. So 1, 2, and then we turning our work just like this. So you sort of got to make sure you pull this green strand at this point a little bit tight, because if you don't, it sort of shows a little rough bit just there. So just make sure it's pulled slightly tight. So what you're going to do now is you're going to, so okay, for this round we're increasing to, hang on a second. Okay, yes, we're increasing to a stitch count of 36. So to do that, what you do is you put 2 stitches into every first stitch, then 1 stitch into every second stitch. So it's 2, 1, 2, 1. But while we're doing that, we're still creating the star pattern and the square. So what we're going to do, we'll go through it together, but what we're going to do is we're going to yarn over with the red, and you see that first stitch just there. If we close up a little better, the first stitch is green. But that's okay because it's meant to be green. So you're going to yarn over, go into that stitch. You're going to put 2 double crochets into that first green stitch just there. So 1 and 2. Then the next stitch along is just going to be 1 stitch, and that's going to be red, of course. So you're going to go in, yarn over, yep, 1 double crochet into the next stitch. Now, into the next stitch along, we're going to be putting 2 red double crochets. So into that next red stitch, 1 and 2. Now for the next stitch, what we're going to be doing is we're dropping the red, but you're dropping it sort of to the back like this, to the back. You're picking up the green underneath it like so. You're going to yarn over with the green, go into the next stitch along this green one, yarn over, pull up a loop. And then you're going to yarn over with the green, pull through 2, but then you're dropping the green, but you're dropping it to the back like this. You're going to sort of wind the red up around like this, yarn over, finish the stitch with a red loop, just like that. And now into the next stitch along, you're going to repeat that process that you just did then. So you're actually ignoring the chain of 2 at the beginning of this one. It sort of doesn't really apply anymore. So the repetition is you go into that first stitch, which is green, with 2 red double crochets. So 1 and 2. Then 1 red double crochet into the next red stitch. So 1. Then into the last red stitch, that's 2 double crochets again. So 1 and 2. Then you're pulling the red to the back and you're picking up the green sort of underneath like this. You're going to yarn over with the green, sort of holding that strand just there flat against the back of the work. You're going to go into that first green stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, but then you're dropping the green to the back again and sort of pulling the red up underneath like this, yarn over, finish that stitch with a red loop. So that is the repetition. 2 reds, 1 red, 2 reds, pulling up the green underneath, yarn over with the green, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, then dropping the green to the back, yarn over with the red, so pulling that up underneath, and finish off the stitch with that red loop. And you're just going to finish that to the end of the round. Yeah, once you get to the end of the round, we're going to meet back up. Like I said, you're going to have a stitch count of 36 by the end of this round. So when we get there, we'll see how it looks, and we'll talk about how we're going to move on to creating the square. All right, see you soon. All right, so here I am about to put in my last stitch, and that last stitch is the green one. So I'm going to yarn over with that green just there like that. Go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, then bringing that green to the back, pick up the red underneath, like this, yarn over. Not like that, what have I done? No, like that. Then you're going to yarn over with the red, finish that stitch with a red loop. Alright, so you've actually finished with the green right now. So what you're going to do is you're going to look for that chain of 2 from the beginning, but it's going to look a little different from the other chains of 2 that you've been doing, because the first part of it is a little green loop just there. So your chain of 2 is just there like that. You're going to go in, you're going to yarn over, pull through, and pull through. So what you're going to do now is you're going to find some scissors. You're going to cut your green yarn. You don't have to cut like a lengthy length. You can sort of just cut. Hang on, I'm going to pull that red loop out a little bit. So just cut about that much. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go into a green part at the back just here. So going to that like loop of green part of that stitch. You're going to pull, well, so what you've done is you've grabbed that green strand. You're going to yarn over, pull a loop of that through that bit on the back just there. Then yarn over, chain from that point, then pull that chain through just like that, pull tight, and that's going to secure your green. So you're done with the green. So just turning around quickly, you can see what I mean. If you don't pull the green or that green strand tight enough, you've got this little sort of funny bit sticking out just there. So what you do is you just pull a little bit tighter, and it kind of goes away, kind of. Not really, that's okay, it still looks pretty good. That's actually looking really good. So I'm happy with that. Alright, so what we're going to do next is we're going to be creating the square. So for this, I've actually done something a little bit different, because what you normally do is you normally finish with the increases before you start the square. So you've done your circles and increases, and then you're sort of creating the corners. Those would be where the extra stitches are. So bearing with me, I'll try and explain this as well as I possibly can. What I'm doing is I'm adding the square while also increasing for the next round. So for round 4, what it would normally be is 2 stitches into every first stitch, then a single stitch into the next 2 stitches. So by the end of it, I think you wind up with a stitch count of 48. Yeah, it's 48. So I am going to be doing that, but at the same time, I'm creating the square. So into the corners, I'm putting extra stitches for stitch number 6. And you'll see what I'm doing. So each side of the square is going to have 16 stitches. and we're going to go through it together because, yeah, this is, I don't know, this is a slightly different concept. I don't know if it's been done before. It probably has, but it's just something I came up with, and it sort of worked better for this square than just adding another circle and then adding the square after that. It sort of made the star look too small. So, that's why. All right, let's begin. So what we're going to do is we're going to chain up 1 and we're going to turn. And into the first stitch, like I said, we're going to be putting 2 stitches. So there's going to be basically each corner, let's just call each, yeah, all right, we'll just do it together. All right, so into the first stitch, which is going to be just there above the point of the star, we're going to put 2 single crochets. So a single crochet is you go in, you yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. So that's 1 single crochet. Now you're going to do another single crochet. So that's 2 single crochets. Then into the next stitch, you're going to do 1 single crochet. Then into the next stitch along, you're going to do a half double crochet. So for a half double crochet, it's yarn over, go into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 of those loops. That's a half double crochet. Now, into the next stitch along, we're going to be putting stitch number 5, which is a double crochet. So you're going to be doing 1 double crochet. But into that same stitch, we're going to be putting stitch number 6. But stitch number 6 is going to be the turning section for the first part of the corner. So you'll see what I mean by that. So into that same stitch, we're going to put 3 more double crochets. So there's going to be 4 double crochets in the same stitch. So that's 1, 2, and 3. So there you can see now we've got 4 double crochets into that stitch. Now what we're going to do into the next stitch, it's going to be stitch number 1 of the next repetition of 6. So we're going to be putting 3 double crochets. This is the second part of this corner. We're going to be putting 3 double crochets into the next stitch along. So 1, 2, 3. Normally this is easier to explain. It's just that because I'm increasing at the same time as adding the corners, it's probably not as straightforward. So that's stitch number 1, 3 stitches into that stitch for that first part of these 6 stitches that we're doing. So into the next stitch, you're going to put 1 double crochet. So try not to get stuck. So 1 double crochet into that next stitch. Now into the next stitch, we're going to put a half double crochet and a single crochet into the same stitch. So there's 1 half double crochet and 1 single crochet. And now into the next 2 stitches, it's just going to be a single crochet into each of those. So 1 and 2. And now we're going to repeat that whole process again. So that's what I mean by the corners. If you repeat that process, it's exactly the same all the way around. We'll do it together again, and then you can finish up the last 2 corners. So into that first stitch, we've got 2 single crochets. So 1 and 2 into the same stitch. Now into the next stitch is just 1 single crochet. Now into the next is a half double crochet. Now into the next stitch, you've got stitch number 5, which is a double crochet. And then to represent stitch number 6, we've got 3 more double crochets into that same stitch. So 1 and 2 and 3. So that represents stitch number 5 and stitch number 6. So into the next stitch, which will be the next repetition of 6, it's going to be 3 double crochets into the same stitch and completing this next corner. So 1, 2, and 3. And now into the next stitch, it's 1 double crochet, so 1. And into the next stitch, it's going to be a half double crochet and a single crochet into the same stitch. So 1 half double crochet, 1 single crochet. Now into the next 2 stitches, it's just a single crochet into each. So 1, then moving on to the next one, it is 2. So that is the repetition. There's 12 stitches that you're working with all up, and that's the pattern that you're doing to the end of the round. So you're going to have 2 more of those corners to complete. If you get stuck, just go back, look for, the beginning of where we did one of the corners, or just go right back to the beginning. It's all exactly the same the whole way around. So once we get to the end of this, we're going to meet back up, and I will run through with you how we're going to do the other squares that are not quite so squarey, that are going to create the heel and the toe section of the stocking, because they're not going to be exactly the same as the rest of the squares. We'll also talk about how many we're going to need to do of each type. All right, so I'll see you at the end of the square, and we'll discuss it further. All right, so here I am at the end of the square, and that's looking very cute. It's looking good. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look for that chain of 1 that we've got at the beginning. Right at the beginning there's a chain of 1 before your first stitch. You're going to go into that, and you're going to slip stitch to close the square. And then all you'll be doing is you're going to yarn over, you're going to chain 1, and then you're just going to cut the yarn, pull through that chain to secure it. But what I'm going to do is I'm quickly going to take apart this corner, this last corner, up till the first of this corner. So there were 2 single crochets into this first of these 6 on this side. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to create this one corner of, hang on a second. Okay, yes, so there's going to be 6 of these particular ones all up. Okay, yes, and there's going to be 14 of the normal squares. So the square we just did with the 4 corners, there'll be 14 of those all up, and 6 of these particular ones that I'm going to show you how to do right now. Also, bearing in mind, you don't have to put the rounded edge that I'm just about to show you right here at the ends. You can put it here, or you can put it here. Put it pretty much wherever you want. Doesn't really matter. But what you're going to do is, instead of creating the corner, you're just going to, to begin, you're putting your 2 single crochets into that first stitch. Then count as you go along. So count to, so I'd say count to 6 and then count to 6 again. So we'll do it together. So we've got 1, 2, then into the next stitch it's a single crochet. So that's 3. Next stitch is a single crochet, and that's 4. Then into the next stitch it will be 2 stitches, so 2 single crochets, 5 and 6. Then into the next, let's do 12. So 5, 6, and then you've got 7 and 8, 2 single crochets into separate stitches. Then you've got into the next stitch 9 and 10 into the same stitch. Then 11 and 12, 2 single crochets into separate stitches. So 2 stitches every first stitch, and then 1 stitch into the following 2 stitches, if you see what I mean. So that's the repetition. That gets you to a stitch count of 48. So I hope that made sense. So that corner, that rounded corner, is just all single crochets, and you're not creating the corner with the 3 double crochets for the 6 and the 3 double crochets for that next one, for the 1, if you see what I mean. Leave a comment if you feel like I haven't explained it well enough, and I'll try and put it in writing, I know sometimes it can be difficult. So yes, that's what we've done. And then all you would do from there, if that's where you're putting your rounded corner, you just slip stitching like so, chaining 1, cutting the yarn, pulling that through, tying off. So yes, like I said, we've got 6 of these rounded corner ones and 14 of the plain normal ones, the initial square that I showed you how to do. So that's what we're doing. Hopefully I'll have time for this tutorial to go through how to join all those with you. If not, we'll be doing the stocking in a separate tutorial, probably for the end of the week or early next week. But we're going to get them made because they need to be filled with presents. Yes. All right, so that's that. All right, so we'll go away. We'll finish our squares. We'll come back when we've got our 6 rounded corners and our 14 squares. And yeah, I'll see you for that. If not, see you next tutorial. Okay. All right, so I've finished all of my squares. and I've actually put together the back section. So I'm going to put a picture of that on the screen now. I've taken a picture of it just so you can see what it looks like when it's all put together, how it's going to be. And then after we've put both of the front and the back together separately, we're going to join them, and I'll show you how to do that afterwards. But anyway, what I've done here is, this is the front section. So I've put it all down in formation so you can see how it's going to look. So what we've got here is we've got the 3 rounded ones, the 3 ones with the one rounded corner. So that one is for the heel, and you've got the rounded part for the heel. And then up here we've got the 2 other ones for the toe. So for the top and the bottom part of the toe, the rounded corner, obviously one goes here and one goes at the top just here. So that's what they all look like, and this is how they've been put down. So that's how you're going to do it. And what we're going to work on now is we're going to work on joining them. I'm going to show you how I do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be joining, first I'm going to join along here, so a continuous join along here between all 6 of these. Then I'll do a join through here, then a join through here, and then at the end of all of that, I'm just going to do the join right down through the middle, starting at the top to the bottom. So to get started on the join just here, what we're going to do is, and I'll leave the camera tilted down because it'll be easier for you to see what I'm doing. Tilt it down a bit more. Actually, we can sort of move this up. I'm just holding on to everything, move it up slightly. So it's more in the middle. Yes. All right, there we go. So this is what we're working on. Now, what we're going to do, and I'm joining with the white thread, the white yarn. What we're going to do is we're going to take the end of our white yarn. We're going to make a slip knot. Just like this, we're going to find our hook that we've been using. So my 3.5, we're going to, now what we're going to do is just looping that onto your finger like this for the moment, hold it where it is. You're going to pick up the right hand square that you're working with. And what you're doing is you are finding the stitch down the bottom that you're going to be working with. So that's obviously the last stitch of this side down this end. And the way you do it is, for the braided, actually, this might not be such a good example. Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. Let's just adjust this so that we can see a bit better. Okay, so we've got 16 along each side, except for the rounded one where there's like 12 on one side. But anyway, that's beside the point. We'll get to that when we get to it. So you've got 16 along this side, and we want to work into the first stitch along on this side. And the way you can tell is the stitch that you will be working with that corresponds with the body of the stitch falls to the right hand side at the top of the body of the stitch. So you can see here, this is that cluster of the 5 plus 6, so there's 4, 5, 6. You can see that the last one just there, the stitch that you'll be working into, so there's the body just there, you're working into the stitch that falls to the top right hand of that. And what you're going to do is you're going to stick your hook through that stitch just like this. You're going to get that stitch, that slip knot that you made, you're going to adjust that to your hook, and you're going to pull it through that stitch just there. So you're working up this side. And now what you're going to do is you're going to actually pull that tight, pull the slip knot tight through that stitch just like that. Now what you're doing is make sure that the working end of the yarn is pulled up to the top like this. So pulled up that way. And then you're going to pick up your left hand square and you're working into the first stitch along on this side. So we're obviously doing the toe section just here. So there's the toe and you're working along this side. So looking for that stitch that you've got to be working into. So here's the last stitch along on this side is, I can't do it. Yeah, no, I can do it. It's fine. Is this one just here. So you're working into the part that falls to the top right hand of that stitch. So that just there. So I'll kind of hold my fingernail where it needs to be. Then you're sort of picking up where your hook is. Hang on, where am I? Yep, just there. And you're going to stick your hook through. So there's that stitch just there. Hang on. There it is just there. The stitch at the top right. So I'm trying to do this just in there. Going into there. Then you're going to grab the working end of your yarn just here. And you're going to yarn over. Pull a loop through that stitch on the left hand square. Then you're going to yarn over, single crochet, just like that. So you're basically single crochet joining all the way up, and you're going to have 16 along the sides So all you do now is you go into the next stitch along, so that one just there, you're going to go into that stitch, you're going to readjust the hook that you just took off, the loop that you just took off your hook, you're going to pull it through that stitch, pull tight, then you're moving to the next stitch along on the left hand square, you're going to go in, you're going to yarn over, pull up a loop, single crochet, then you're pulling that a bit loose, drop that stitch again. You're going to move to the next stitch along on the right hand square. You're going to go into that, pick up the stitch again, pull it through that stitch, pull tight, go into the next stitch along on the left hand square, single crochet. So just like that. And so what have we've done 3. So there's going to be 16 along all the way to that point. I will meet you at the end of those 16 and we'll move on to joining the next set of squares. So I'll see you after that 16. All right, now here I am and I've joined all those 16 stitches together. So that's what that looks like. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move these down a little bit so we can get a bit closer. What we're going to do is we've taken that stitch off the hook. We're going to pick up the next right hand square along, so this one. We're going to find the stitch that we're going to be working into. Try and do this through the camera, yeah. And going into that first stitch along on this side, just here, you're going to go into that stitch just there. You're going to pick up the loop. You're going to pull it through that first stitch on this square, pull that tight like this, then making sure that's pushed to the top on that side. You're going to, oh, okay, where are we? Yeah. You're going to find the first stitch along on this, just here on this side. So where are we? Okay, so that's going to be that one just there. We're going to pick up, going to go into that stitch, yarn over, pull through, pull that fairly tight so they're nice and close together, then yarn over, single crochet. So you're basically just doing that. What are we doing there? Yeah. And that's how you're joining them, and you've got 16 along to the top of this one. And then once you've done those 16, you're going to move on to the next 2 along exactly the same way. So that's how you're doing it. And then once you've done that, hang on a second. Also, just be careful not to get these twisted where you've joined. So make sure they're sort of laying flat and they haven't sort of twisted around like this. Just make sure they're sort of all going the same way. So once you've joined all of these 16 and you've moved on to the next 16, you've joined those, you're going to do these exactly the same in just here, and then also the top ones exactly the same just there. So you're going to do all that exactly the same. So once you've done that, I'm actually going to meet back up with you so that we can join the section just here, the cross section just here, and also the long one that's going to run between all the ones in the middle of the sock. So we're going to do that. All right. I don't think I need to stick with you for any more of that. You can just go away, do it yourself. If you have any questions, just ask me. I'm happy to answer them. So yeah, I'll meet back up with you. Alright, now that I've joined all these sideways sections, what we're going to do now is we're going to turn the sock this way. And what I'm going to show you now is how to join these long ways sections. So to do that, it's going to be pretty much the same. Well, you're starting off pretty much the same as you did for the other joins. So you're just going to find the end of the yarn that you're using to join. I'm going to make a slip knot. Making a quick slip knot, you're going to pick up the first stitch along on this side of the right hand square. So same again, like this. You're going to adjust the slip knot, pull it through that stitch, pull that tight, and then making sure the yarn is, the working end is pulled to the top just there. And you're going to find the first stitch along just here. So where are we? Hang on, see if I can get a bit closer. Yes, all right, good. And focus. All right, so where are we? There's that first stitch that we'll be working with. So we'll be going into the top right hand part of that. So just through there, yarn over, pull through, single crochet. So we're going to do that, and once we've done all 16 of these ones, I'm going to meet back up with you, and I'm going to show you how we go through these middle bits just here. So I'll see you in a moment. Okay, so here I am at the top of those 16 joins. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to join into the stitches that just here that could sort of form the cross section. So the first on this side and the last one on this side, I'm sort of going to go into that stitch again. You can see where it is. Just go into that stitch just there. Pull through. It's going to seem a little bit tight, but if you just sort of wind things around each other, it does start to make sense. It's fine. Where am I? Did I miss a stitch? No, it's fine. So what we're going to do is we're just going to twist it around like this. We've sort of pushed the yarn up and around, up and around like this. And you're going to go into the adjacent stitch just here that's already been joined for the other side. So like I said, just bear with it, sort of twist your hook if you can to get it through. Then you're going to yarn over, pull through, single crochet. So yes, basically there's going to be sort of, especially for this next cross section, it's kind of like 17 stitches rather than 16 for this side. Pull through. Where are we? There we are. So there's that one that's already been gone into. Oh, you've already gone into it. A single crochet, and now you've just got your 16 remaining joins for this section, and it's just going to be the same with these ones. So that's how you're going to join for the long ways cross sections. So that's it. That's what we're doing. I'll meet back up with you and we'll sort of go through how we're going to join the sides together, but basically it's going to be the same thing, except for when you get to the rounded corners, and then it's not going to be quite the same. There's kind of 12 stitches here rather than the 16 that you normally would have done for the corner. But all the stitches are going to, basically it's all going to match up. Where is my other part? Hang on a second. Here it is. It's all going to match up. When you lay them down flat together, so just sort of, evenly there, it's all going to match up and you're going to be able to join it. But I'll show you when we get to that stage what it's going to look like anyway. So let's just do that. Let's just do the joins. And we'll meet back up. And we'll work on joining the outsides. Then after that, we're going to talk about how we're going to do the top. All right, I'll see you soon for when we join the sides. All right, now that I've joined all of my cross sections, so that's what that looks like now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get the back and I'm going to lay it down flat with the wrong side facing up. Then I'm going to grab the front and just line it up so that it matches exactly like this. And that's all you're doing really, is lining them up, and then you will. So we'll start at the top back section just here, and we're going to join. You're just joining exactly the same as you join the cross sections, but you're going around the edges. Obviously you won't join the top just here. We're going to move on to, we're going to do something different at the top just here. We're going to form the hem at the top, the sort of fold over hem part. So like I said, the stitch count is going to be slightly different when you get to the rounded corners, because each side is 16 stitches, therefore each corner section is 16 stitches, if you know what I mean. So for this one, because you weren't doing the forming of the corner, you were just doing the normal increase for this particular round as it would have been, there's only going to be 12 stitches for the corner of each rounded section. So that's the same for these toe sections as well. So that's just a brief explanation of what that is. So just running through quickly, all we're doing is making another slip knot, then obviously finding the first stitch along on this right hand side, shoving your hook through there, adjust that knot to the hook, pull it through that stitch, pull tight, making sure the yarn is pushed to the back just there. Then moving on to the first stitch along on this left hand one, and just here like that, shove it through, yarn over, single crochet. So it's just going to be like that all the way around, and like I said, the stitch count is going to match up. So, you know, it's going to match up. So I'll meet back up with you once we've all done that, or done all that all together. And once we've done that, we're going to move on to the top, like I said. So yes, don't join the top. Make sure there's an opening for the top of the sock. So yes, meet back up with you and we'll go through how to do the top together. All right, see you soon. All right, now that I've joined my sock all along the sides, everything is joined. So what we're going to do now is we're going to be adding the trim to the top and the little loopy bit that's going to be the thing that you're going to hook it up with. What we're going to do is, we're not going to be working into any of these stitches that have already been used to join, because we want to keep the stitch count at an even 64 all the way around. Because we've got 16, 16, 16, and 16. So we've got 64 all the way around. And what we're going to do, so here's my sock. We're going to move to the back, and I'm going to be starting at the back on this side of the join just here, but obviously not working into that stitch that's been used already. So we're going to go into that one just there. I'm going to find the yarn that we're using. Actually, I'm going to be using, I'm going to be using a green, because this green is nice and soft. We're going to find the end of that. So finding the end of our green yarn, we're going to make another slip knot. And you don't have to make the tail too long, just enough so that you can weave it in as you go along. And what you're going to do is you're going to just adjust that knot to the hook, pull it through that stitch, pull tight. Now what you're going to do is you're going to chain up 2, so 1 and 2, and in next to that slip knot and chain of 2, you're going to put a double crochet into that same stitch. So starting off, we're just going to yarn over, go back into the stitch you just went into, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So we've got a double crochet straight there. Now what I want to do, so that there's not a huge gap just here on either side of that join, what we're going to do for the stitch that goes into this next stitch along just here on this side, we're going to yarn over, go into the stitch you just went into then, stitch you just put your double crochet and your slip knot into. You're going to go through there, then you're going to move to the next square along. You're going to go into the stitch that you need to go into, yarn over, pull a loop through that stitch, pull that loop through the stitch just here, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So we've basically used this next stitch along here to double crochet these two sides together so that the gap is not very wide just there between the squares. So now all you're going to do is you're just going to put your double crochets in along around the top, and every time you get to a join or every time you get to the gap between the squares, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to put your double crochet in here, then start your next double crochet that's going to go into this stitch into there, join those, just the same as what we did just here. So you're going to do that, and there should be 64 stitches all the way around. If in doubt, just count to see how many you've got. I will meet back up with you at the end of this. We'll talk about what we're going to do next. Alright, now here I am at the end of the round. So what I'm going to do is put in that last double crochet just there. And straight from that, we're just going to slip stitch into the top of the chain 2 from the beginning to close the round. So just into that stitch at the top there, slip stitch, close the round. So simple as that, and that's what we're doing. Okay, so I'm going to be doing this in the green for 6 rounds, and once I've completed 6 rounds, including this one we've just done, so we chain up 2, we turn the work, and like I said before, I turn the work so the seam doesn't drift to the side and the joins and everything. So that's what we do. And what you're going to be doing is you're not putting your first stitch into that stitch right there beneath the chain of 2. So let's just focus better. And that stitch right beneath the chain of 2 there, you're not working into that one. You're going to work into the next one along. So that's going to be your first one of every round, because your final stitch is going to be worked into that joining stitch just there right beneath that chain of 2. So that one there. So that's going to be that. And like I said, I'm doing 6 rounds of this green, but after we've completed the 6 rounds, we're going to meet back up. And I'm going to show you how to do the little linky bit that you'll be using to hang your stocking up with. Alright, see you soon. Alright, now that I've finished those 6 rounds, so that's what that looks like. It's starting to look really good I'm really happy with it. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to form the little linky thing that you're going to use to hang up your stocking. So to do that, what we're going to do, straight from the last place we were at, so we've slip stitched to close that round. Now what we're going to do is we're going to chain 20. So 1, 2, 3, so chain 20. All right, and here I am with that chain of 20. So now what we're going to do is we're going to work our way all the way back to the beginning of that chain and into that very first chain right at the beginning there. So that one just there. We're going to slip stitch into that chain to make a very big chain circle. So just like that, slip stitching. And now what we're going to do is very sort of carefully, we're going to turn the work so that we're facing back in the other direction of the chain. And what we're going to do is, hang on, try and tilt down a little bit. And what we're going to do is, skipping the first chain from the hook, so that first one just there that we've got, where are we? Try and get a bit closer. All right. So as you can see, there's that first kind of tiny little chain just there. I sort of pulled it a bit too tight, but there's a first chain from the hook. We're going to skip that. We're going to slip stitch into that second chain just there from the hook. So there you can see there's that first one. Here is the second one. You're going to slip stitch into that chain. And what you're going to be doing is slip stitching into every chain all the way back to the beginning. So all the way down this large chain circle, we're going to be slip stitching into every chain. So once we've done that, we're going to meet back up. We're going to talk about how to close it up. Well, it's already closed up, but we're going to talk about how to attach it properly to the body of the stocking. So I'll meet you at the beginning of this chain and we'll talk about what we're going to do. All right, now here I am almost at the beginning again. So I've got a couple more slip stitches to do on this chain. So there's that one. Now there's another one just here. So there are the slip stitches for the chain. Oh, that's a little bit tight, that one, annoyingly. All right, so now that I've slip stitched all the way along those chains, I'm going to slip stitch into this very beginning chain just here. So just down the bottom, I'm going to slip stitch into that one. And just to make it more secure on the body of the stocking, I'm going to slip stitch into that stitch right at the beginning there, just before the chain. So I don't know if you can see that. Yeah. Right there beneath the chain on the other side, I'm going to slip stitch into that space just there, hook in. Hang on, see if I'm getting through that whole stitch. And just like that, slip stitch to close up. Now all I'm going to do is chain one from there, find my scissors, I'm going to cut the yarn, pull through that chain to tie off, pull tight. So there we go, there we've got that link. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add the white trim. So I'm going to find the end of our white yarn. We're going to make a slip knot. So making a slip knot. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sort of find a place along here. I'm not going to start at the back. And I'm going to just put my stitch through, hook through any stitch along the side just here. Attach the white yarn, pull through, pull tight. Now, straight from that slip knot, we're going to chain up 2. So 1 and 2. And I'm making sure I'm holding that loose end of the white against the side just here so I can crochet it in as I go along. And you're going to put your first double crochet in beside that slip knot. So into that same stitch. Double crochet. Now work a double crochet into every stitch all the way till you get up to this linky bit. We'll go through how we're going to go around that together. All right, so I'll see you in a moment. All right, now here I am at that link. So what we want is we want this link to be pushed to the inside. So we're going to be crocheting around it on the outside like this. So you're going to yarn over, making sure the link is on the inside. And you're just going to, holding that loose end of the green against the work, you're going to crochet into the first stitch on the other side of this link. So double crochet, just like that, crocheting around, and then going into the next stitch along. So just as simple as that. And you're going to make sure you've got the same stitch count as you had before you did the links. So there's going to be 64 stitches all the way around. And that's it. And when you get to the end, you're going to slip stitch into the top of the chain 2 to close the rounds. Then you're going to chain up 2, turn the work, double crochets back in the other direction, and we're going to be doing 6 rows of the white trim. So we're going to be doing 6 rows of the white. Once we've finished our 6 rows, we're going to meet back up. We're going to look at how we're going to fold over the white, and that's it. Then we'll be finished. We'll be finished our stockings. So yes, I will meet back up with you when it comes time to do that, and we'll do it together. Alright, see you soon. Alright, so I finished 6 rounds of the white trim, so I'm just going to slip stitch to close that final round. Now I'm going to chain 1. Find my scissors. Find my scissors, and I'm going to cut the yarn. Try not to drop my hook. Yeah, there we go. Alright, so cut the yarn. I'm going to pull that chain through, pull tight, and I'm going to weave that in later on, so it's okay. But now all we do is we just fold. Fold the white trim part so that the hook, the linky bit is sticking outside. And there you go. Hang on, let's turn it that way so that it looks nicer. There we go, all finished. Yes. I love it, that's gorgeous. Alright, great. You know, if you were feeling very ambitious, you could get some lovely material, which I actually got and I might do. And you could sort of line the inside with something really nice, and yeah, you could do that. But yes, this is just, you know, it's actually fairly quick to make this. The squares aren't really as complicated as they probably first appeared. And you can get them done pretty quickly, so yeah. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you've made yourself a lovely Christmas stocking. Last minute Christmas stocking, yeah. Alright, that's it. That's what we've got. I'd love to know what you think. Let me know in the comments. Yes, alright, I look forward to seeing you soon for the next tutorial. Don't know what we're going to be making, but you know, it'll be something. Alright, thanks for watching. See you next time.